Some restaurants will claim to be gluten-free, but actually they're not. They introduce gluten into the food during the cooking process in the kitchen, so that's no good to any of us. How can we tell a safe gluten-free restaurant? I'm going to give you my top 10 warning signs and welcome mats to help you differentiate the warning signs you should run screaming from and the welcome mats that can tell you this is a safe, comfortable place for you to eat. The number one welcome mat I want to introduce, this is the biggest welcome mat, right? Just roll out the carpet and let me have a nice, good, gluten-free dinner. Dedicated gluten-free facility. These 4 words are incredible. Now look, dedicated gluten-free facilities are really rare. What that means is that the entire place is 100% gluten-free. If you Google search dedicated gluten-free, you can find a list of dedicated gluten-free restaurants near you. I would still, just as a little safety check when you get there, go up to the front, talk to the nice lady who moved here from Brazil. I have someone in particular in mind. Love you, 𝗙𝗟𝗨𝗧𝗘𝗡. And say, hey, I can't eat gluten. What can I eat here? And they'll smile and fill you with warmth as they say, everything. There's no gluten allowed in this place. It's great. So, obviously dedicated gluten-free places like the 𝗙𝗟𝗨𝗧𝗘𝗡 bakery place I'm thinking of are fantastic, the best. But you can't rely on them because they're still very, very rare. There aren't that many. I would start your gluten-free search with this amazing welcome mat, dedicated gluten-free facility. But you will need to find other restaurants that are less perfect, so let's talk about those. I'm going to go with a warning sign now, a little bit of danger, something you should probably run away from. Dedicated fryers. Now, dedicated fryers are good. They're a welcome mat. But the warning sign is if they don't have a dedicated fryer. You see, if you go to a place and they say, we have gluten-free food. Look at our gluten-free menu. It's fantastic. Well, do you have a dedicated fryer? No. Run away. They don't know what they're doing. If they are frying your gluten-free food in the same oil that they are frying their bread products, obviously they don't know how to make gluten-free food. They're going to make other mistakes in the kitchen, even if they don't use that fryer. I wouldn't eat there. If a place claims to be gluten-free but does not have a dedicated gluten-free fryer, I don't trust them. I just don't trust a place like that. I don't know how they can get away with saying that, even, that they're gluten-free. So if they do not have a dedicated gluten-free fryer and they're frying the stuff in the same oil as the gluten stuff, big warning sign, run. On the other hand, if they have a dedicated fryer and tell you that right off the bat, welcome mat. That's a good sign. Okay, so the next welcome mat I want to talk to you about is something that the folks at the front desk will tell you, something that your server will tell you. If they mention these little bits, these tidbits of information, big welcome sign. All right? What I really love to hear is, hey, I have gluten-free and I have celiac disease. Are you able to handle that? Yes. This is what they should say. Yes. We take care with cross-contamination. When they say the words cross-contamination, when they say the words, when the person at the front says it, when your server says it, that's how you know that they train the staff correctly on gluten-free. Because cross-contamination is the word for when gluten is added to the food while it's cooked in the kitchen. That's the scary thing we want to avoid, that these fake gluten-free places are doing, cross-contamination. All right, so if they say the words cross-contamination, that's a good sign that the staff was trained on the right way to keep you healthy and safe. Now, another thing I really like to hear, though this is a little more situational, oh yes, my mother has celiac disease, my brother has celiac disease, I've cooked for people who have celiac disease, they're very good here. If the person who's handling your food has a relative or themselves has celiac disease, that's usually a good sign. There are exceptions to every rule, but these are definite welcome mats that I love to see. They give me a little more confidence that this is a safe place to eat. All right, I want to talk about one of the worst warning signs. This is a scary one, okay, but it's really subtle. You've got to kind of put on your detective hat and be on the lookout for this one, because you really can get caught by surprise here. empty yesing. That's what I like to call it, empty yesing. It's really bad. If you give them the speech, you go to the front desk, you go to your server, you say, I have celiac disease, I need to be very, very careful. Can you accommodate me? And they say, oh yes, we're very safe here. Would you like to order? Here's our gluten-free menu. Oh yes, they know what to do. On the one hand, it looks like they're being positive and encouraging, right? But this is bad. I've never seen anyone do this and there be nothing to worry about. This is a bad sign. And let me explain why. Number one, they're dismissing you. They're doing it in a very positive way and they're smiling, but they're dismissing you, right? It's a much better sign when they say, oh yeah, we take these steps. We have a dedicated fryer. Introducing that one back again. The staff is really well trained on cross-contamination. We keep all the gluten-free foods separate, right? My hair got in my eyes a little bit there. All of this stuff is what you should be hearing, not, oh yes, we're very careful. Haha, trust us. Would you like to see our gluten-free menu? Because it's on a menu. That makes it safe. Ugh. And I know you might be thinking, oh, but I'm sure some people are just, don't want to give you the whole speech. No, trust me. Trust me. You'll, after 100 different restaurant experiences, you will see what I mean. If you are getting empty-yesed, if they are saying, yep, it's safe, please move on, not a good sign. Not a good sign. And it also means that they're probably not trained well, which isn't great. Because it takes a lot of practice and training for people to, make safe gluten-free food. It took me years to get good at it. It took my family years to get good at it. You need to get trained on it, I'm going to go through another warning sign, but this one turns into a welcome mat if they answer your questions well. All right? I like to call this the bread safety protocol, and this is very important if the place happens to sell sandwiches or burgers. Either of those two, okay? Sandwiches or burgers. If they do that, you really need to ask about the bread safety protocol. You want to ask them, when you're dealing with the gluten-y bread, the regular bread, where do you toast it? Do you have a separate toaster for it? Do you put it on the grill ever? Because this is real. This happened to me. I was eating in a place where the manager came over and was like, hey, I want to make sure everything's gluten-free. This is good. Trust us. We're going to be very careful. And I said, thanks, that's great. But when you cook the meat on the grill, is there anything gluten-y on the grill? And the answer I got back was, well, yeah, we toast the buns on the grill. Wait, what? You toast the gluten hamburger buns on the grill, and you're telling me the food cooked on the grill is gluten-free? What are you doing? That is not how this works. That is a big no-no. So you really want to ask about things like the grill, the toaster, the fryer. I'm going to keep mentioning the fryer because the fryer is a big one. That happens so often. You want to ask anywhere they put bread, the oven, if there's gluten stuff in it, and determine if they're doing something that's unsafe. And if they are, get out of there. If they don't know any better, if they're grilling the buns on the same grill that they're cooking your meat on, get out of there. They don't know how to keep you safe. All right, let's bring out another warning sign, like some more things to avoid, okay? You are the problem. That's a big warning sign. If the staff is acting like you are the problem, like you're an asshole just for asking about food safety, how dare you insinuate they don't know how to cook your food? Oh my goodness, get out of there. Get out of there. And look, it's not because they're being rude to you, okay? I want to be clear. The rudest person in the world could serve me food, and I would be happy as long as the food was safe. You could get Dr. House from the TV show, right? That really rude doctor TV show. You get that guy to come here, serve me food. I'd be fine. It's not that they're being a jerk that's the problem. It's that if they're treating you this way, they don't care about you. They don't care about your concerns. And worst case scenario, they might be trying to cover something up. It's a common tactic that shady people will use to get angry at you to hide something that they're doing that's wrong. So if the staff is treating you like you're crap for asking questions about food safety, odds are the reason is because the food is not safe, because they don't care, and you should take your business somewhere else. It's not always possible to do this, and it's not always a definitive, runaway sign, but I would try to avoid or minimize eating at any place where the staff treats you like the problem for asking questions about food safety. It's a very big warning sign. All right, so another warning sign. And this one is a little tricky. There's a little bit of nuance here. But I think I should let you know that 我很喜欢中国菜。僕は日本の料理も美味しいですよ。I love learning languages and eating food from various countries, especially in my case Chinese and Japanese food. I'm a big fan. One of the problems is celiac disease does not exist in those countries. Now, don't get me wrong, China has like way more things on their allergen lists than the US does. But the issue is that celiac disease is a genetic condition isolated to Europe. So if you have European ancestry, you might have celiac disease. Even if you just have some great-grandfather out there somewhere, you could have it. But someone without any European ancestry cannot get celiac disease. This means that if you go to Italy, a lot of restaurants are really used to it. But if you go to China, they don't even know the word for gluten. I mean, you could say 我有一个食物过敏，不可能吃𝗙𝗟，不可能吃𝗙𝗟. No one will know what 𝗙𝗟 is. You just say gluten. I've literally been told, just say gluten. More people understand that than 𝗙𝗟. And the problem is, because the disease is not native to those countries, it's really, really hard to explain how to make food gluten-free, right? And you'll run into this problem in the United States, too. For example, there was one Japanese restaurant that my family and I wanted to eat at, and we said, do you have gluten-free food? And the response was, we don't have free food. So the language barrier can also be a problem. But even when the language barrier isn't getting in the way, there's also an issue of, they might just not understand what you mean. They might not understand how to do gluten-free food. So you should be very careful when eating at an authentic, kind of international restaurant. That being said, I want to be clear, one of my favorite, safest restaurants to eat at is a Chinese food restaurant. They have protocols, in place to make sure the food is gluten-free. I trust them because they know what they're doing. And so, don't avoid every international restaurant. You'll just be really, really, really sad. Like, I couldn't go on without Chinese food. I can't. It's just necessary, like, I mean, a part of my personal life and culture here. But what you need to do is just make sure, especially if there's a language barrier, that you really communicate what you need. And if you don't think you're perfectly understood, it might be a good idea not to eat there. There are several, you can find gluten-free restaurants from every cuisine. They're a little harder, but you can find good ones. I have. And I recommend putting in the extra work to find a good restaurant rather than taking a risk. Unless you really, really know the person, you can talk to the cook. Because at the end of the day, cooking gluten-free is really hard, and language barriers can complicate it. Okay, we've gone through a lot of warning signs. I want to go through a good sign. Dedicated preparation area. This is a little bit difficult than the magical words dedicated gluten-free facility, which means the whole place is gluten-free. Dedicated preparation area. Oh, I love to hear that. That means that part of the kitchen is just for you. Just for you. Nobody else can go there. It's your part of the kitchen. It's the part of the kitchen where only gluten-free food is allowed, and they have one person who will go there and just make the gluten-free food. It's great. It's great. If a place has a dedicated gluten-free preparation area, first of all, I think that should be mandatory in gluten-free restaurants. I don't know how restaurants could be safe without one. But if they have that, it's so good. It's so good. Such a welcome mat. You might as well just roll out the welcome mat, let me in, take my money, and give me your food. Dedicated preparation area. So good. So good. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't look for other warning signs, right? It doesn't mean that you're in the clear yet. But it's a very good sign. It's a fantastic sign. Gluten sensitivity. Oh, this is a warning. This is a warning flag. This is a red flag here. If they use the phrase gluten sensitivity instead of gluten-free is good. gluten allergy. Gluten allergy is amazing. I love it when they say gluten allergy. Or celiac disease. Fantastic. If they say gluten sensitive, you should be nervous. The reason is that it could mean that they're not treating it like an allergy, which is what it is, which is what they need to do. And it's also spreading misinformation. I mean, a couple of years back, there was this weird misinformation campaign going on that gluten allergies weren't real. And the reason behind that is because some people were claiming to have gluten allergies and they did not, because they diagnosed themselves. They didn't talk to an actual doctor. But look, I've spoken to an actual doctor. I have had tests on pieces of my colon that were taken from me. Okay, I know I can't eat gluten. It's been medically validated. And I think most of the people who somewhat delusionally thought they couldn't eat gluten have kind of been phased out, and now everyone is a little more understanding that you need to talk to a doctor, to get diagnosed with this. So if people are still spreading around the phrase gluten sensitivity on a restaurant menu, that's a bit of a warning sign. Even though technically there are people who have that, I have celiac disease. I'm allergic to gluten. This isn't a sensitivity. You need to treat it like an allergy. And if you're calling it a sensitivity, that's a bad sign. That's a sign that you don't know what you're talking about. You're not taking it seriously, right? I treat that as a warning sign. I'd ask a lot of questions of that place before eating there, and have a long conversation with them just to make sure they know what they're doing, right? All right, another warning sign I want to take a look at: bad restaurants. Okay, let me tell you a story, actually. I went to a pizza fusion, right? Kind of like a fad, more hip kind of pizza place that had gluten-free food and vegan food. And I was sitting down watching them prepare my pizza on the same cutting board that they had just cut the bread on. Horror show. They're poisoning me right in front of my eyes. They had no idea what they were doing. It's a little bit tricky when a restaurant is a fad restaurant, and I've especially run into problems with vegan restaurants. I know some of you watching this are vegan and have celiac disease. Your life will not be easy, because a lot of vegan restaurants I've noticed will not treat gluten as an allergy. They'll treat it like a diet, and they'll treat it almost identical to a vegan diet. And that means they won't be careful with things like cross-contamination. This isn't true of all vegan restaurants. I just ate at an amazing vegan place the other day, like Nature's Crave Eatery or something like that. So good. And there were some warning signs. It was a bit of a fad restaurant, and there were some concerns about the bread preparation protocols, right? The bread protocols, we talked about that. But I asked the staff, right? I talked to the staff and said, where do you prepare the bread? I need to be worried about this. I need to be worried about that. Is all this stuff gluten-free? Is that gluten-free? And they gave me really good answers. They were really kind, supportive, inquisitive. They made me feel good, right? So I felt confident that I could eat there and I would feel safe there. And I've eaten there twice so far, and the food has been good. So you can definitely find more hippish and vegan places that are gluten-free and safe. But you definitely want to use these rules, these warning signs, to help you filter out the ones that aren't safe. Because I've noticed, for me personally, an increased risk of gluten being taken less seriously at more hip restaurants. And unfortunately, for those of you who are vegan, that has coincided with restaurants that are more vegan friendly. I hope these warning signs have helped you identify sketchy restaurants you should run away from. And the welcome mats are opening wide to great restaurants that you can eat at. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and let me know if this has helped you. I'll catch you later, and safe gluten-free eating.